Welcome back to a nice, hot, fresh bit of slop. Now, I know what you're thinking. Where have you been, iSlopper? Had a bit of a break. Always kind of do the start of the year here. You know, we did a couple videos past January, but nothing too crazy. But we're back now. Plenty of slop to be had, especially because we have new dev diaries. Oh, I do have to point out that I think we're like 500 subscribers away finally from 100k on this channel. That's cool. That's really great. And if you're my 100,000th slop subscriber, if you send me proof on X, the everything platform, if I remember my login for that website, I will draw you a personalized rat. That is highly lucrative bit of property right there, because again, I'm not even entirely sure I remember the password for that website. But more importantly, it's time to hop on into a nice bit of slop where we're looking at a few dev diaries, and specifically going to be talking not exactly about what's in them, but the concept of this dev diary. You see, Paradox is doing something completely different. This dev diary, I guess it's a dev corner. They're actually getting a lot of feedback, very specific feedback from every single person that has read this. Well, if you left a comment about it. I mean, if you didn't leave a comment about it, then I guess it doesn't work. But if you're familiar with, I think, what was it called? Tinto Talks with EU5 before release and after, where they did these big blog posts and got a lot of feedback from people. It sounds like a really good thing, right? You're actually getting people to drive the development of your game, and could it work for HOI4? I definitely don't think it worked for EU5. Hot take. But yeah, essentially what they're doing is they're laying out what their plans are for Thunder at the Gates, and then they're asking what people think of that, and then asking for more feedback on what they actually want in this mini DLC. So we can actually go ahead, have a little read about this. I won't go through all of these because I think there's like 9 or something, and there's not a lot in them, but we'll cover a bit, anything that I find interesting, but let's just have a quick read here. It's a new year, so we're preparing for future content. To this end, we are starting up a new round of developer corners, not diaries, corners. It's alright, I feel like the HOI developers were definitely backed up into a corner after all the feedback they got on the last DLC. And before we continue, I want to set some expectations and clear things up. By now, you know we have two main types of developer posts. Developer diaries, which is what usually we read on this channel. I don't really need to examine that any further. And then now, developer corners. Dev corners need your feedback specific to the DC. Yep, the DC cinematic universe. Should be short and to the point, may or may not include any images, may generally give you some ideas of something that might come up in future content, but it's not guaranteed, are not usually planned far ahead. Instead, if at any point any developer has something they want to get feedback on, we'll pick an upcoming weekly slot, probably Tuesday or Thursday. So, not a dev diary per se, but a dev corner, where they're going to give, as they say right here, just a lot of feedback on the DC cinematic universe. And already with this first dev corner, Thunder at Our Gates, which is the next DLC in the expansion pass 2, I think it was going to give you stuff for Australia, Siam, and something else. I don't know, who cares? But as you can see, first off, they're asking you, what the hell should we do with Siam? Is this a what is a Siam? Who's Siam? I think it's called something else nowadays. And I don't know how I feel about this, I'm gonna be real, but when you think of Siam and Hearts of Iron, what are you expecting? What's your player fantasy? And lastly, are there any interesting characters or equipment that they use that you really want to see? Now, like I said, this, I'm assuming, is off the bat of EU5 and the much heralded development cycle of just asking for constant player feedback, which some may enjoy, some may not enjoy. I'm assuming if HOI is doing a similar thing, and they've done a lot of these corners already, so I'm assuming they've got some feedback in the background where this was probably heralded as a great thing that, Paradox has done in the background. That obviously, this is something that, they've seen positive, receptive things of in their own feedback. Now, this could be a hot take on me, but I do think this is a horrendous way to do game development. Obviously, I'm not a game developer, but it seems terrible, right? And I'm going to elaborate a bit more on this, but if we just go look through some random bits here, a lot of the stuff that is in these has just been player-driven, community-guided content. And I know what you're thinking. What's wrong with that? That's how we finally get what we say we want to get in this DLC. We can pick Paradox apart and the HOI4 developers or the EU5 developers apart, tell them what we think is really great. But I honestly think a great example of why this specific style of developing now just doesn't work, and it's EU5. As soon as I saw what they were doing during the first dev Tinto talks or whatever with EU5, I knew immediately that game was going to end up being a hot bit of mess. Something that's going to require just way too much fixing down the line because they're trying to please too many people. And if every week you're getting such specific, hard, just feedback constantly, always having to change things on the fly, which is how they worked in those Tinto diaries. They'd be in the forum posts after, hot fixing stuff from the dev diary they had just done. And then that bit of developing led to EU5. It also, when we had it in pre-release as well, they were getting the exact same thing of just hyper-focus, content creator-driven developing where, all these content creators were in a Discord trying to fix EU5 pre-release, which it was a big mess, I'll give you that much. And all of that, on the spot, constant feedback, oh, this would be good, yeah, that would be good, let's put it in, I think just led to a product that simply has no creative vision behind it at all. Because it is the creative vision of 4,000 people who replied to a Steam discussion in a forum post in Tinto Talks regard. And that does sound great. I mean, you're like, hey, it's got something for everyone, but look at EU5 right now. It doesn't have anything for everyone, simply down to the fact it's a completely broken mess. So it's now going to require a whole bunch of patches because the things that people thought was super deep as the ocean, are actually as deep as a puddle. You think of stuff I mean, this is just turning into an EU5 rant, but it is specific to why I don't like the idea of these dev corners, and I think it could probably work a lot better with these dev corners for something really specific like a DLC. But, you have all this content in EU5, and, at first you're like, damn, this is so complicated, it's got so much to it. It's not. It's really not deep at all. It's super shallow. The problems that continued after the development of EU5 on release, they kept going. The super player-driven feedback tried to fix everything, and the game just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And I think EU5 is at a point where they've released their big 1.1 patch or whatever, and the game's kind of stable again. Obviously, all the problems that were actually in the game on release that people found out afterwards. I've done my big video on it, just the amount of stuff that's broken in EU5 past 1400 is astounding. But yeah, they carried on development, past release, and cobbled together just all this feedback, and we just kept breaking the game every single update, every single patch, to the point now EU5 lost all its players, gone down on the Steam reviews, and they haven't actually fixed any of the original problems people had with the game. They're just fixing the problems they've added on from the feedback they were getting bombarded with, instead of just, releasing the game, keeping it how it is, doing bug fixes, and then carrying on their own creative vision. Just getting bombarded with feedback, I don't think is a good way of developing a game. Obviously, I'm not a game developer, but I am looking at game developers right now. I've just saw what happened, and I don't like it. But, I'm going to give you some positive to this, and this design principle is that, yes, okay, if it's something super specific like a DLC, you can get a lot of feedback for just a very specific part of the game instead of scattergunning across one big game. If it is a fine-tuned DLC filled with just a whole bunch of player-driven, community-guided ideas and content, yeah, it could turn out good. But if they carry on this design principle for every Pyrox game, I think we're just going to have an EU5 every year at that point, because it ain't good. Now, strike me down if I'm being too doomer, alright? I know a lot of people probably are still huge fans of the way EU5 worked out. And they're still in my comments to this day saying, hey, you know, the EU5 trade will be way better. You just got to give us some updates. EU5 situations would be way better. You just got to give us some updates. They'll change it eventually. And I get that for every single problem in EU5. It's like, well, at that point, they just gotta change the entire game, is what you're trying to tell me. I gotta wait for Paradox to change an entire game for it to be good. That is what you are telling me. I mean, the copium for like EU5 was out of this world, but we're not gonna rant and rave anymore. That was specifically the situation around why I'm skeptical of these developer corners, but we are gonna look through them now. And sorry for the rant, but I did feel like it needed to be explained why I'm very skeptical of stuff like this. I'm interested to think what you guys think of this. I can see it, like I said, being way better, way more specific to a DLC where it could work, but for like what I saw from EU5, man, I just don't think it's a good idea at all in my damn at all. Okay, first things first, I want to look at the dev corner, not dev diary. I love how they've actually gone ahead and they're still explaining. I think this is the 6th dev corner. What a dev corner is. It's not a developer diary, it's the corner. But I wanted to go up to this one because this is the feature that's being added to this DLC. So unlike before where the little content packs were just focus trees, now they're committed to actually putting a feature, at least one, in every single little update they do. And the feature they're adding to this is army HQs. For army HQs, the flow at the moment is that you create your armies and assign a general as usual, but you now have an extra option to deploy them to a specific division in the army. Now, I have not looked too deep into this mechanic, but it is definitely getting, I guess, I can't even say it's close to like HOI4 in terms of the HQ system in that game. It's definitely its own thing, but it is a technical feature that you can have from HOI4 in this game now, or will be, depending on what whoever types in the comments. It might change, but you can deploy your general to a unit. Sounds pretty cool, right? Then the general has an area of effect on the map where their abilities have an impact. We're looking into adding more abilities at the moment. Now, when they say abilities, do they just mean the stats that they have? I mean, that would make sense, right? Or if they just mean like the MOBA abilities, like the force attack, desperate defense, stuff like that, and those only work in this little circle that you now have on the map. Well done. We have a new circle on the map. Clap, everyone! And that's pretty cool, I guess. It's a way of limiting just force attacking across... I mean, who the hell just forced attack across a whole front line anyway? That's a little bit weird. I mean, desperate defense, I kind of get, but... force stat, usually you want to have it be very specific to wherever now your general might be. Could be wrong though, they could be adding new abilities with this. We'll have to see in the next dev corner. One thing I find is really cool, and this is gonna slip so many people up. If a division with a general deployed to its surrounded and is destroyed, the general is captured by the enemy. You can now officially capture enemy generals. Honestly, what I'm most looking forward to this is I don't think I'm going to get, you know, my generals captured or anything. Well, I probably will, because I'm going to forget at some point. It's just not pay attention. But damn, I'm going to like look back at an end of a HOI game and I'm just going to go through my jail cell, like wherever we're keeping these generals in the gameplay mechanics now. And I'm just going to see like 52 German generals like in my prison camp. That's pretty cool. I do like that. And I think, you know, if you're into like playing HOI4 multiplayer, like a bow game, I imagine this is going to be pretty funny in like a bow multiplayer game, right? Capturing enemy generals. It's probably also going to actually matter as well, which is very fun. But don't fret, if your best general has been captured, there are ways of actually recovering them, such as raids. They do say that is just one of the methods of recovering them. I'm assuming another might actually be with the spy system. That would make sense, right? But yeah, you can do a raid to go ahead and get your general back. Sounds pretty cool. Obviously, I'm imagining, they kind of have to put in a way for you to get them back. And, I mean, right there, it doesn't look like it's going to fail too much on medium, 70%, pretty good. But as I say, we're of course working to flesh this system out with some more abilities and methods for recovering generals when captured. But what would you like to see for ways of recovering them? Again, feedback immediately. Let's just go ahead and look at the discussion for a second of what people are actually recommending. Oh, okay, there you go. Add femboy general for Poland and replace Austrian painter to Tomoko Kuroki. Said it perfectly. This is just what I'm saying. This should not be a thing. Great idea. Far better to focus on the military side than the civilian. terrible idea. I mean, you know, Steam discussions probably aren't the best place to get a lot of good feedback. I'm going to be real with you. Definitely a whole bunch of different creatures that are hiding on those forums. But to be fair, same with the Paradox forums. There's a very big gap between, you know, like the Paradox forums and the Steam discussions, but they're both equally as bad in their own regard. God, I don't know why. Every time I just see DC, I'm just thinking, you know, DC Cinematic Universe, not Developer Corner. But, you know, it's fine. I'll get used to it. Okay, here's the next dev corner on Indonesia. And glad to see that it's just like the Ethiopian war system that's just been completely, you know, nabbed from that and then stuck into whatever's going on in Indonesia now. So a quick read though. Indonesia has a problem. It's a colony, an archipelago. It's an archipelago. Has no navy on its own. Fighting a civil war in these conditions will be sluggish, difficult, and probably not very fun. Now, it's kind of funny how you're realizing the civil wars just in general to flip ideology or break independence in this game aren't fun, Paradox. We've been experiencing with various ways of getting around this issue, and we'd like to share all of our experience with you all today. Remember, this is a early development, and everything here can and will change. When Indonesia declares independence, the war will not start immediately. Instead, it will be represented as revolutionary militias occupying a state de facto, but not being recognized by the Netherlands de jure. Mechanically, this will be an escalating conflict during events, land raids to simulate border conflicts, and a new joint focus tree only available during the revolution where Indonesia and Netherlands can sabotage each other and or negotiate a peace agreement. Already sounds better than the majority of the independence wars in the game, but also, will it be better? Probably not. I've got to give Paradox like a round of applause for this. So, I mean, they are actually trying to aspire to just the formula that HOI4 has put down, because they are very limited on like how an independence war can actually kick off. Or you know, switching an ideology. I'm thinking of like Japan in the latest DLC, where if you want to switch, guess what? You just got to fight 4 different civil wars, and it's not very fun. Simply down to the fact civil wars in HOI4 just put you back a lot, and there's not a lot of time for build-up in HOI4, so when you lose sometimes up to a year or even more of your gameplay stuck in a civil war that you then have to rebuild after, it's not great. And I know sometimes you do have to sacrifice things like historical accuracy or realism for fun in the game, and I think a lot of these civil wars can, you know, be done better. Specifically like the German one. The German one is fine. You could beat it immediately. There are some downsides now with the new German focus tree where if you don't rebuild quickly after beating the civil war, you know, you get another civil war, or you get like a big debuff, stuff like that. That's how it should be done. Oh, but the Japanese one is horrendous, where you have to go down like 5, 6, 7 focuses, 6, 7 focuses, 6, 7 focuses, and then do the infiltration across the states, and it's just a whole thing. And then you've got debuffs when you're trying to beat the other side of the civil war. I get it, you know, it's not historically accurate that this thing could even be a concept, e.g. like the communists rising up at that point. But man, just it is such a drag waiting like months in game time when, you know, it's already like you see it's ticking to closer to 38 in game and you're like, oh my god, free me from this misery. So if they could implement something better, that would be great. That's what I'm trying to say. And we'll have to keep an eye on this. I mean, it does sound more involved, which could be a good thing, and actually give you a bit of gameplay to enjoy during the civil war, not just waiting until you can push. Another thing that is interesting is down here at State of Prusley, you are an archipelago, and you do not have a navy. If you, as Indonesia, want to take control over states that you do not share a border with, you're not going to have a very fun time with naval invasions. We've experimented with introducing a new feature with this Marine Commando raid. Sounds interesting, right? All right, well, let's go look at the feedback again for this. 696 comments on there. Let's see what they gotta say. Oh, but this is what I mean. This is the problem right here. This guy wants them to add nickel. What does that have to do with... Well, there you go. There's another guy saying add femboys. I guess, you know, it's being demanded quite a bit here. They're going to have to do it. Yeah, I love how Dr. House says we need more naval gameplay than this guy says revert the naval change. Okay, I think I'm done reading the comments. Here's something that's pretty cool. Regimental support companies. Actually a pretty big change to what will be the way you actually do templates in this game. I know a lot of mods already have the extra support companies or regimental support companies, but we're doing a bit of a redesign work on the division designer, and as part of that, we're also looking at the opportunity to add regimental support companies to your divisions. We experimented with adding additional row underneath the regiments with room for new companies. In practice, the existing support companies have been mostly split into what can be slotted as a regimental company or a divisional one. Generally, weapon companies and companies relying on a specific equipment will be regimental, whereas the more generic support ones remain divisional. This will allow a bit more flexibility when customizing and building divisions, allowing you to specialize further into specific weapon companies or equipment, or making divisions that use a bit more of everything. Hopefully it gives additional consideration to division design. Right now, equipment and stats also scale the size of the regiment, so if you have less battalions inside a regiment, the associated support company will also be smaller. This will have to check on power to prevent making small divisions overly strong at the moment. How would you use something like this? Is there any specific company you would like to see in the regimental line? Let's see what they've got to say in the discussion. Just more fluff that's not needed. Is this about player experience or milking a 10-year-old game? You should do this earlier. Looks good. I like the idea. We need rework democracy, non-aligned, and rework diplomacy. I mean, to be fair, this guy says he loves it, so there you go. Well done. Give yourself a pat on the back, Paradox. On to the next one. Alright, last one we're going to look up. Welcome back to another Dev Corner. We have noticed several of you have suggested that the Canberra air disaster should be part of the new Australian content. We agree, and it will be. For those of you who may not be familiar with it, the Canberra air disaster refers to the 1940 plane crash in which all 6 passengers and 4 crew members were killed. It was a horribly tragic accident, and the destabilizing effect on the government at the time, as Australia was in the midst of the war, and the 4 victims were highly respected military advisors. And I think also members of the government actually on that plane as well. I could be wrong about that, but I think there was. It's got the casualties there. And as for question you, the upcoming Australia content, should this event lead to the death of a number of predetermined advisors, or should they be chosen at random? And if you have any other input or thoughts regarding this topic, please feel free to give me every minute detail about your life in the discussion down below. Yep, please give me all DLC for free. Why Australia specifically and not Europe or the USA? Just catering to big investor of yours who lives there? Garish replied, DI. Oh my god, where are the femboys? I'm gonna do it like one of these days, I swear to god. I'm out. But yeah, I guess this could be a scenario where, you know, crowdsourcing your development to people that are just really epically funny on the Steam forums. It's just such a good idea, because apparently there is like a nugget of gold in there somewhere where they're actually giving you historically relevant events that could be in the DLC that you may have overlooked. And yeah, honestly, this could be like a good thing for development, like I said, with the crowdsourcing and stuff like that. It really just depends on how much they're pulling from this nonsense, and if by the comments alone on these, I'm assuming they're a lot better on the forums, to be fair. But if you're pulling from the Steam ones, I mean, god, just delete the game off Steam already at this point if you're listening to these goddamn schizo. It's really going to come down to a test here on whether or not this DLC comes out and people like the way they've actually gone about working it and adding stuff that people have put in specifically. And also just how much Paradox is pulling from the suggestions. I do think, like I said, that this could be so much better on a DLC or like a small update than what EU5 did, which is just the entire game just being like this. Yeah, this could work for a DLC. I mean, they're getting a lot of good feedback for the most part, especially this last part. If they're actually pulling stuff that will go in the focus tree that is historically relevant. I didn't read all of these because there's a lot. I haven't been keeping up. So, yeah, I imagine there's probably been other bits of gold in there somewhere. And honestly, I mean, I'd say don't do it. Paradox, don't follow this method of, just crowdsourcing and crowdfunding, essentially, your DLC. But I think it's too late for that. They're already going for it. And it will be a good, interesting thing, whether or not it works. I mean, I don't think it worked for EU5 at all. And that's just my opinion. Some people will probably be like, no, it went great. EU5's going great. And I mean, Honestly, I don't want to play a game for the most part that is just, highly tuned to 10,000 different people, or at least trying to be. I want to play a game that's, fine-tuned by the creative thought and initiative of just a select group of people that came together and had a good idea. I think that's usually how you get the best results. I could be wrong. I mean, you guys, I'm going to really read the discussions of whether or not you guys agree with me down below, but I do think, I don't know, this just doesn't ring right with me, how this is going. I'm not saying, again, that this is specifically going to be bad for this DLC. I think it could actually be good for a small DLC to do this. And I actually am more convinced after reading a few of these. It's more so I'm worried after, obviously, seeing it go down for EU5 that, just if this is how it's going to be from now on with every bit of content, oh man, I can't see it going well. I think it's just going to be another big reason of why I won't end up liking something like I did not like EU5. And there's a multitude of reasons why I did not like EU5. I'm just going to point that out there very quickly and just roll back on that one. It wasn't just because, they were getting 500 different suggestions for every minute thing they should put into the game, and then having just this whole surface level through a game that takes like 20 hours to reach the end game of. No. Just in general, not a big fan of EU5 and how it went. But yeah, I don't want to see things like HOI4 come out and you have to, there's 500 different dev quarters. I mean, it just, mate, I could be wrong on this. I'm not going to go any further into it. That's what we're coming up with, though, with Thunder at our gates. And, yeah, very interested to see if I'm just completely wrong on this. I probably am. I'm going to be real with you. I don't see a lot of people saying what I'm saying about, specifically the E5 development, which is the first one, the first big one that I had an issue with this type of developing. So, I'm probably wrong. I'm going to be real with you. And it's fine to be wrong. I'm not saying you should agree with me. I'm just saying what I think. And feel free to convince me down below on why it's good. And if you don't think it's good, let me know why. I'd be interested to know. But that's our first video back on the slop. Remember, 100k subscribers, I'll draw you a rat. But yeah, comments down below. Gonna read them right after this. Bye.